Robert's Rebellion, also known as the War of the Usurper, was a rebellion against House Targaryen, primarily instigated by Eddard Stark, Jon Arryn and Robert Baratheon, for whom it's named. It lasted close to a year, and resulted in the end of the Targaryen dynasty in the Seven Kingdoms, and the beginning of Robert Baratheon's reign. The most important battle during this war, and the battle that ultimately determined the outcome of Robert's rebellion, was the Battle of the Trident. The battle was fought between rebel and royal troops at the Trident, across what would thereafter be known as the Ruby Ford. A legendary duel between Robert and Rhaegar was a fight which decided the outcome of the entire battle. The battle was decided when Robert and Rhaegar met in single combat, on horseback in the stream. Robert eventually crushed Rhaegar's chest with a blow of his warhammer. This battle was the most important event during the rebellion, as it decided the winner of the war. However, all the circumstances and the entire truth will not be known until the final seasons of House of the Dragon end. What if there are some secrets we don't know yet regarding this battle? As you may or may not know, Fire and Blood book, on which the upcoming Game of Thrones prequel is based on, is not entirely accurate, as it's not written by George R. R. Martin's point of view, but rather George writes it from Maester's point of view, who gathers his info from other history books and sources alike. Also, the only characters who saw Rhaegar fall saw only the final blow. What if Robert did not win a fight against Rhaegar? Or what if he did, but Rhaegar defeated him? What if Prince Rhaegar defeated Robert and told him to yield since he did not want to kill him? Rhaegar told him that Lyanna loves him and he loves her. Robert yielded, Rhaegar helped Robert get up, and when Rhaegar was not ready, when he put down his sword, at that moment Robert smashed his warhammer into Prince Rhaegar's chest. That's why Robert was never happy. He knew Lyanna loved Rhaegar and Rhaegar did not hurt her. Robert knew Rhaegar was a better fighter. He defeated Rhaegar only because Rhaegar was too noble and kind to finish him, so Robert used the situation, yielded and killed him when he was not expecting it. That's why he drank himself to an early grave, trying to forget it all. I mean, it's all there, it's been in front of us for years. During his battle against Rhaegar, Robert was wounded, and after that battle he was never truly happy. Some say it's because of Lyanna, but the truth is Robert never really loved Lyanna that much. As a matter of fact, he slept with many girls after his marriage was arranged to Lyanna. In this theory, the truth why Robert was never happy again after the Battle of the Trident is not only because his betrothed ran away with Rhaegar out of love, and not against her will, but also because that same man Lyanna fell in love with defeated him in a combat and spared his life only for Robert to kill him out of anger, even though he yielded and Rhaegar was not expecting it. So basically, in this theory, Robert knew Lyanna loved Rhaegar and he loved her. Robert also knew Rhaegar was a better fighter, and he knows he would have been dead if not for Rhaegar's mercy, and that's why he's been drinking himself to an early grave ever since. He could not accept it. That's why Robert dreams of Rhaegar every night, and kills him in his dreams every night over and over again. It haunts him. That's one theory and possibility. The other is that Rhaegar was not even there, did not fight Robert, and did not die there. The story says Prince Rhaegar met Lord Robert Baratheon in combat at a ford during the Battle of the Trident, where the pair had a legendary duel in the raging rivers of the Trident. Rhaegar, despite wounding Robert, was struck down with a massive blow from Robert's warhammer, which scattered rubies encrusted in Rhaegar's armor under the water. It's said that rubies flew like drops of blood from the chest of a dying prince, and he sank to his knees in the water, and with his last breath murmured a woman's name. While Rhaegar lay dead in the stream, soldiers of both armies scrabbled in the water to search for the rubies. Later the location was named the Ruby Ford. First, let's point out the obvious. It's especially highlighted that Rhaegar wore his iconic knight black plate armor with the three-headed dragon of House Targaryen, decorated in rubies on his breastplate. Additionally, the ford in which this battle took place is named for the rubies that were knocked from Prince Rhaegar's breastplate. Now, why is it so important for George R. R. Martin as well as for the showrunners to make it very clear that Rhaegar wore his iconic armor that had rubies attached to it? Why so much focus on Rhaegar's rubies? Why is it such a big plot point and subject brought up whenever the Battle of the Trident or Rhaegar are brought up? The first theory would be that Robert did not fight Rhaegar, but rather someone else who had glamored himself in the form of Rhaegar using rubies. as it was confirmed in the 6th season of Game of Thrones. Rubies can be used to glamour its owners into a form or a person they want to be. Melisandre uses it to hide her true form of an extremely old woman. In the books, Mance Rayder glamored to appear as Rattleshirt via the ruby in his wrist cuff. The power in rubies is something called glamour, where you can basically use them with the power of the Lord of Light to project a different image of yourself. If Melisandre and Mance can use it, it's most certainly not out of the realm of possibilities that someone had glamoured himself in the form of Rhaegar, using these same rubies, and sacrificed his life for a beloved prince. The other theory that is also supported says that someone else died instead of Rhaegar, wearing his iconic armor. Remember that in the books, because he had been covered from head to toe in armor, Dany did not see his face in the vision. Perhaps Rhaegar never died on the Trident. While the first theory says it was someone who used rubies to glamour himself in the form of Rhaegar, the second one has less magic, and it states it was simply one of the Kingsguard members who fought Robert, dressed up in Rhaegar's full armor. Throughout the books, we have been given a few major examples of an ordinary fighter wearing his hero's armor, to sacrifice his life for him and his cause. In A Clash of Kings, Sir Rodrik Cassel attempted to put an end to Ramsay and his atrocities. Rodrik's party comes across Ramsay during one of his hunting trips, but Ramsay is able to survive by switching clothes with his personal servant, who is then killed in his place. Basically, Ramsay gave him his clothes and markings of identity, whereupon Rodrik's men killed the servant believing him to be Ramsay. Another example can be found in the legendary last fight between Robert Royce, the last of Bronze Kings, and Arthas Arryn, the founder of House Arryn. It says it was dusk when Arthas and his Andal army finally appeared. But even in that fading light, Robert Royce did not fail to mark their leader. His silvered armor and winged helm made the Falcon Knight unmistakable, even from afar. After the first 6 charges against Robert's line failed, Arthas' falcon-shaped helmet appeared in the heat of the battle. Robert charged at him, in the hope that the Andal army would dissolve if their leader was killed. There we had 2 legendary heroes meeting and fighting in a duel, except for a fact one of them was just an ordinary knight. Robert beheaded the Falcon Knight after a duel, only to see 500 fresh Andal knights charging at him, with the real Falcon Knight, Arthas Arryn, at their head. Cunning even more than brute force, Arthas had clad one of his knights in his own distinctive armor to distract Robert. Afterward, Arthas became king of the mountain and the vale, and founded House Arryn. Those are 2 examples of someone else wearing their hero's iconic armor to sacrifice his life for him and his cause. There's definitely a reason why George R. R. Martin is giving us these examples. There's also one detail from the popular episode Blackwater that supports this theory. When that episode had come out, George R. R. Martin was pretty upset that main characters like Stannis and the Hound were not wearing their helmets during the battle. At first glance, it might seem strange that George would complain about such a small detail, but it actually makes perfect sense. For him to later reveal that Rhaegar never fought Robert on the Trident, a big deal would obviously be made about one member of the Kingsguard wearing Rhaegar's armor and helm. But those are just theories, and that's all we have until Game of Thrones prequel series House of the Dragon comes out. Every question, doubt, or proof we are looking for will be answered or confirmed in 2022 on HBO. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.